I do like this. Did you buy this? Is this like...
Yeah, I licensed it for the...
You licensed? It's not generated by Streamlabs or
No, it's
whatever.
not. Yeah, no, it's not. It isn't.
That explains a lot.
We're talking about... Yeah, exactly. We're talking about the mystery music you hear playing. Because today, on Mutants and Masterminds Monday, we are talking about adding mystery to your encounter. Two men shrouded in a smart-ass mythical mist. It's me, Disembodied Troy.
The smart-ass mist had it right the first time.
I said smart-ass myth. Yes, exactly. And Alex Thomas, Steve Kenson, of course, myself, Disembodied Troy, we are here to add some mystery to your mutants and masterminds. If you're joining us live, of course, you can say how-a-do in the chat because we do so love it to hear from you. Jean's here saying hi there. Greetings and salutations, Moomamo fam from RC. Oranon's here. It's Mystery Mountain Mutants and Masterminds Monday.
Or as Aura says, Merry Mystery Mountain Mutants and Masterminds Monday.
Yes. Also, Sean Vieira says, a good Eminem Monday. And unto you, I say, Sean, good Eminem Monday. Nate is here as well. AJ's here. We have Nate saying T-A and S. Oh, yeah, right. Troy, Alex, and Steve. I was like, T-A and S?
Mm-hmm. That's us, Troy.
What could that be? It's us. Pope is here. I try not to be shrouded in ass mist. No matter how intelligent it is.
We appreciate that.
Yes,
That's
we do. Move. It is a good move for yourself and all those around you. And Bodie's here. Howdy, Bodie. David Bodie. The cover was great. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I agree, Gene. I really was very happy with how that came out.
Let's see. Great to be here. Bring on the mystery, says our friend the Glyph. I always forget what your actual name is, so we'll just call you Glyph. You know, what's interesting, Sean Vera asks a question that I have an answer for. That is so rare that I have it ready, roaring and ready to go. So Sean brings up a very interesting content discussion, which is the Rogues Gallery VTT token pack. Now, we have it up at DriveThruRPG, and you can see that up in the corner. Up in the top there, but we have the link to the store, the Green Ronin online store, which you can use just pull out your phone, you just scan that QR code, and you get teleported as if by magic to the store. And then with money, you can purchase it, removing all the mystery from that particular endeavor. But yeah, so do check that out. And as we said, it's over at DriveThruRPG. We have we'll provide some links to the Roll20 version as well. I only have room for so many QR codes on the screen. But definitely go over and check that out because there are some VTT tokens in this Rogues Gallery that could potentially make an appearance in your mystery campaign.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, I'm a fan of this topic primarily because just the whole idea is getting. I love mystery stuff. I've loved it as a child. I think partially because of my love for the Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Yeah.
Like they just were so fun. I also love a good murder mystery.
Right.
Absolutely. And so how
Did
much
you say
fun?
Good murder mystery or good burger mystery?
I love a good murder burger mystery. The murder of the burglar. Or the hamburglar, as they call him.
Right.
Bitter Betty Bit bought a bit of better butter. Yeah, I get it.
That's that one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, both, Josie says. But yeah, absolutely. And I am just I love Agatha Christie murders. I actually even love those really boring like PBS Agatha Christie sort of, shows where everybody speaks in with a British accent and someone's been murdered in the city, in the village, and so I love that stuff. So adding that, so there's some really interesting questions right now. We need a campaign module based on Murder, She Wrote. Yes, I agree. So let's talk about how difficult it is. And, RC brings up playing as Foreshadow to make a GM's job even harder for a mystery. Is Foreshadow a villain?
Foreshadow is a hero, but he has the ability to see the future, which is probably one of the things we will talk about in terms of dealing with mysteries.
He's real annoying.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about like the difficulty of creating a mystery.
It's tough.
It is. It is.
Hamburglar murdered. Yes, the mystery talks as Cobalt GM.
Yeah, mysteries are hard. I think specifically as a writer who's trying to come up with a mystery for your players to interface with, it's really easy to get caught in the weeds of telling that story and not really understanding that your players are not going to behave the way that characters in a mystery story act typically.
Right.
And they have a lot of abilities that make it easy to circumvent certain mysteries in a way that like Sherlock Holmes can't do, despite having his superpower of master deduction, because some characters can see the future, or they've got psychometry and they can see the past of an object, or they've got mind reading, they've got illusions, they've got all sorts of things that can make the life of a detective very easy.
Right.
And I think it's imperative to you as the GM to come up with a really good hook for the adventure. So coming up with a good scene and a good core mystery to get excited about, coming up with a good climactic scene for the players to work to, and then not being too special about how they get from point A to point B.
Right. That's really key, is not getting too attached to whatever route the character is going to take to get to the solution of the mystery, because odds are good that they're going to come up with something that you didn't anticipate.
Right. Right.
I'm a big fan of what I call diamond plotting for mysteries, where you've got the intro scene and then you've got all of the body scenes take place stacked on top of each other, and then you have the end scene that makes this diamond shape, and then you write the transition materials and the clues that you can find at each of those places that can point either to the end scene or to another one of the body scenes. So it's a lot of outlining, just a lot of being ready to roll with the punches.
Oh, right. This is so great. Pope says, you've seen the question, you've battled the answer, now prepare for the guess that isn't even close. Yeah, there are a lot of interesting approaches to the building of a mystery narrative, and Pope also mentions that the easiest way to write a mystery is to DM for gullible players. So that's the first option that you can figure out. But the other one is I think it was David Bodie that mentioned that he read somewhere that you should build a mystery from the end backwards.
Well, yeah, insofar as you should know the solution in advance.
Right.
And, kind of work your way back from that.
Yeah, I think outlining is the key to writing a good mystery. And I love outlining. I outline everything. So that's, I don't know, I'm not a seat of the pants writer. So it could be different with other people.
Yeah, I agree. So, Alex, let's talk a little bit about the game mechanics of mysteries, because one of the things I've found in game mastering mystery stories is creating the right balance between the players deducing things and figuring things out and their characters being able to figure things out. Because one of the challenges of a mystery story is if you're playing a really smart or perceptive character, then obviously they're supposed to be able to figure things out better than you, the player, so far as that goes. And how much do you like to lean into, challenges and dice rolls versus laying the clues out for the players and letting them draw their own conclusions?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that as well, especially if it's something where people are getting stuck and the fun is starting to get sucked out of the experience, because nobody likes to sit around and suffer for hours and hours and hours. Except for my players, I guess they like that for some reason. But with the knowledge that you can roll to progress the story, I think is important. But it's also important to remember not to hinge continuing in the story on one dice roll.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, and I don't know. I have been very fortunate to have a lot of intelligent players in my life, so it hasn't happened as yet.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a couple of convention games that I've had a mystery at the root of that have stalled out from people having too many options to proceed with, or too many things that could possibly be the answer. So I think it's important to be able to nudge players in the right way, either through a dice roll or even saying something like, yeah, you've uncovered everything you can find here. Move along.
Right.
Even if that takes them out of even if it takes them out for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that is helpful, especially when the players get obsessed about, something in terms of there must be something else here. It's like, no, there isn't.
Yeah, I call it analysis paralysis, but I see David Bullock calls it clue paralysis.
Clue paralysis,
same idea.
Yeah, where the players get wrapped up and they're like, it has to be all of these things, and I'm like, no, it's one of the things. But stop thinking about it so much and go to the next place, and you'll get more context. The more context you have, the better picture you could paint.
Mm-hmm.
I do love RC says my players would be great at forming that sort of red string mystery board you see on TV. Yeah, yeah, and that's like, I mean, honestly, that's the heart of the fun right there, getting them to move in all these different directions and thinking of all the possibilities.
Yep.
And again, as a GM, you have the ultimate cup and a ball power, where you could put the ball under any cup. It doesn't matter what cup it is, what it originally was. If the players come up with something and it's better than what you came up with, you can just be like, yeah, that was true the whole time.
You're absolutely right. Brilliant. Well done.
Yeah, I am smart. I came up with that. Totally.
Cobalt mentions, my favorite method is just to present the hook, then select the player's best guess is the truth. And and that can be a lot of fun if it,
If you're good at improv game mastering, that's a great way to go, because it really ensures that the players are invested, because obviously it's the option they thought was the most interesting.
Right. Yeah. And I, back in the day, in telling stories through online video games, one of my jobs was, working at the studio, was to impersonate the characters within the game world. And so for this particular game was the Matrix Online. And so we were all of the Matrix characters, Merovingian and all of the associated code monsters and stuff. And we would be playing and I'd be like, okay, the players' ideas are way better. So we're going to shift. And it became a really fun, rewarding. Now, we didn't do that all the time because we didn't want to necessarily let folks know, to that degree that they're determining every single outcome, but by and large, they're if they weren't on it, just by dint of deduction, they were on it by just having a better idea.
Yeah, agreed. I think that Dominic's point is well taken too, that important clues in the story should be something that the characters are just going to find, and it really should be more about how they find them rather than if they're going to find them, so far as that goes, because you can really easily just dead end a mystery story by, whoa, nobody made the necessary investigation check, you didn't find the key clue, you have no idea what happens next.
And then Freedom City gets blown up.
Right, yeah. And you're all sitting there bored.
Yeah, and it really is about, instead of if they find the clue, how they find the clue, and what, that means they get out of it as far as that goes.
So Dom also mentioned earlier something about Knox's 10 Commandments of mystery writing, which is...
I was going to ask about that.
That's something I think about when I'm writing a mystery, but not necessarily something I think about when I'm running a mystery game. Because
so what is it?
It's a collection of rules that was created by a Catholic writer of mysteries, and they, he was a priest, and I think that's probably why he did a 10 Commandments of it. But the 10 Commandments are... the criminal must be someone mentioned in the early part of the story. There's no such thing as the supernatural. Only have one secret room. Don't introduce an unknown poison. No accident can help the detective. The detective is not allowed to commit a crime during the story. must not light on any clues which are instantly produced for the inspection of the reader. The Watson must not conceal any thoughts that pass their minds, because that's often Watson's like, hey, what about this? And Sherlock's like, yeah, that. And then some really outdated ones, like you can't have a Chinaman in the story, and twin brothers and doubles must not appear unless we've been duly prepared for them. Which a lot of that is sort of it's a product of its time. It's a product of the 30s.
Right. And a lot of it is like you say, stuff that applies a lot more to fictional narratives than game scenarios.
Right, or just outright racism, which, you know,
which doesn't apply to anything.
Exactly.
You know,
so I have a question for you. I thought about this a lot as we were sort of putting the show together today. What are some key NPCs that ought to be a part of your kind of mystery recipe?
Well, you need the person who is called the investigators in. Whether that's the cousin who's like, my family's gone missing, or the dame with her legs all the way down there with lipstick red enough to light a fire engine, stuff like that.
That kind of thing. Sure.
Right.
Yeah. The tough as nails, investigator who's like, I'm bringing you in because I can. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, if it's a murder mystery, then you are almost certainly going to involve a coroner or other medical expert at some point who's going to provide an autopsy or other analysis of the victim, so far as that goes, unless one of the player characters just happens to be expert in that field. And usually a good rule of thumb is if it's something one of the characters is an expert at, let them do it. But if it's a role in a mystery or a crime solving that the characters don't have an expert for, you're going to supply an NPC who does it to basically hand them the information and say, here are the autopsy results, for example.
Right. Pope says, got to have a fast talking and or Cockney bartender, or it's not a real mystery. Sorry, don't make the rules. Our friend Glyph mentions an important NPC in the game, an Aegis for damage control.
One of the things I love about the supernatural thing helps the cop solve mysteries genre that has sprung up in the last couple of decades is there's always like a clueless cop who is there with them, who's like just there to reiterate, like, so this is what we're doing, or letting the heroes be geniuses, but also adding that sort of tether to traditional investigation.
Oh, yeah. I like that a lot. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Cobalt GM says, my favorite mystery NPC is the most likely guy.
Yeah, Jonesy mentions another great example is the digital expert, which is the great CSI example. Again, if there is a player character who's got lots of ranks in technology, you want somebody who is going to provide you with all of the the online records and their social media and, the one who you can be like, zoom in and enhance this.
I was just going to say, enhance, really go around the corner. Right.
Yeah. I like any mystery story that has a victim who is in the line of fire. For instance, in Jessica Jones, there is on Netflix, there was Hope, who was Kilgrave's first victim and the real driving force for why Jessica had to find Kilgrave and solve the murder to exonerate her.
Indeed.
I think having something that has emotional stakes like that helps propel the story along, especially if the heroes have somebody that they like. If Jimmy Olsen got thrown in jail for murder, what would Clark have to do to get him out? So stuff like that.
Well, and that's important, Alex. I think you make a good point that it's helpful if the mystery has some driving force beyond just solving it. I mean, solving a murder, certainly important, but solving a murder in time to save someone else gives a certain urgency to the story that, the characters are not going to feel like they can just take their time.
Oh, I like Ornan mentions that in the same way that a GM can provide a cleric to heal the adventuring party, a guest character can step in to provide assistance.
Exactly.
And they can get help. Yeah, I like that a lot. And
that sort of ties into what Glyph is talking about, where you want to make sure that everybody in the party has something to do, not just the investigator characters.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was going to ask. Go ahead, please.
Well, and that's a key thing when you're talking about a team of superheroes handling a mystery If the characters are not designed for mystery solving, then chances are you're going to want to provide a little bit more in the way of physical threats than you normally would in a mystery story. So, for example, the strong and invulnerable guy has something to do other than stand around and watch the crime solvers figure everything out.
Sure. Yeah, and that's Steve. I was thinking that's along those same lines. Now, would you two consider, and given how often we kind of reuse our stories and we'll run something privately and then run it at a convention or do an actual play, how easy is it to retrofit your really any adventure? But when it comes to mystery, you want to be able to incorporate elements, doesn't leave anybody out, or also doesn't make it too easy for, precog or, some other person who can go, oh yes, I've solved it. We've done, now we're 5 minutes in and we're done, how do you go about sort of putting those puzzle pieces together?
A lot of that comes down to a lot of improvising.
Sure.
Because I have this out of game thing that happens where people play my mystery games and then they go tell their friends what happened, and then people sign up to play my game knowing what happens already.
What happened? Yeah.
Really? Are they really there to kind of just be the hero who knows the deal?
There are some people who are into that. Or they didn't know I was going to run the game again at another convention, and they were talking to their friends about it. But it's a lot of creating a lot of believable leads, and then, like we were talking about earlier, following the players where they go.
Sometimes a mystery takes that tack of this person is not guilty, and I know it. I just know it, and we've got to prove it. I think of. Go ahead.
That is one of the key things, and you can sometimes get away with the sort of vague precognitive vision that could be interpreted in a lot of different ways, sort of thing. You have to be pretty deft to pull that off. But sometimes you can just change the premise of the story. If you have a precog, for example, and they see a vision of who did it, or the person being arrested for the crime, basically, then the adventure is not about finding out who did it, but it's about proving it so that vision can come true. Because even, precognitive evidence isn't worth anything. So, the character can say, well, they did it, but unless they can prove it, it's kind of useless, especially if the criminal is cool enough to, not be rattled by that.
Right. And, Jay Gray, to your point, Jay mentions that, when you think about it, all games are mysteries and, intrigues to some degree, but we're really talking about the genre of a mystery, like the very much like we were saying, kind of Murder, She Wrote, Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmes kinds of, so it's that kind of a genre. It's Scooby-Doo. Yeah. Perfect example.
I've been watching Mystery Inc. again, and I plan on stealing a lot of those plots for games.
Yeah, because they're so good.
Right. If they're good enough for, if they're good enough for Scooby and the gang.
It's a 20-minute cartoon, so that perfectly encapsulates, like, this is the amount of energy you should put into the mystery. Like, don't burden yourself by making a 6-hour-long epic and trying to think of every possible scenario. Go the easiest route. And your players will overthink it for you. You don't have to worry about
Exactly.
That's right. That is a really good point. Let the players, kind of collude and figure out and complain and connect and confuse and just get your structure in there so that you know how to pivot and move around. I love that. I really do. Let's see. Interesting that, Glyph, as a side note, using mind reading is illegal. Not always, but if heroes do that to try to solve crimes, they are committing crimes. That
it does run into that same issue with precognition, in that probably telepathically collected evidence isn't admissible. So chances are, even if you can read someone's mind and know they're guilty, it doesn't necessarily give you what you need in order to get them arrested and convicted.
Yes, absolutely. That is a great a point to make. And so, as much as you may know, you got to let the rest of the world know, or make some different decisions about what kind of hero you are.
Right. Right.
Bringing someone to justice or being the justice.
People point out, some of the examples from the comics of the untouchable criminal, like, the Kingpin or Lex Luthor or the like, where you oftentimes have a criminal mastermind where everybody knows they're the bad guy. But the trick is always in proving it.
Mm-hmm. Right. I like that.
And if you're running into a situation where your players are like, we don't want to deal with that, we'll just kill the hero, that you have to back up to a conversation with them about the genre of superhero story that you're trying to tell.
Right.
You have to get them to buy into the premise that it matters to the heroes, that they go down legitimately.
By the book.
Yeah. Do that Batman quote where it's like, if you kill one murderer, then the amount of murderers in the world stays the same.
Oh, right.
With the Punisher asterisk. Not if you stop at one. That's only if you stop at one.
That's right. That's only if you just do
one. That's great. Apuk says, Alex, I'd love a subversion of that trope where supposedly clueless partner knows pretty right off that their partner was a vampire or something and had been discreetly covering things so their superiors don't find out. I do that too.
Yeah, we've talked a little about the notion of the supporting non-player characters who actually know the hero's secret identity, but they just pretend that they don't and try and do their best to help out because it seems important.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
I don't want Bruce to stop, so I'm just going to let him know that I don't know it's him in a bag.
Right, so I'm just going to pretend I don't know.
Right. That is not an uncommon situation in the world at large, when you have a good best friend and you're just like, I'm just not, okay, great. Yeah, you did it. Good job. Raymond says, for comedy mystery, you need a bumbling inspector like Inspector Gadget or Inspector Clouseau. Mm-hmm. That is hilarious. Just sort of like, here comes the lead investigator who is just screwing it up at every moment and every turn.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, maybe they're not screwing it up. Only one,
or they're screwing it up on purpose, and they're part of the problem.
That's it. They're hiding something. I love it. Somebody mentioned, Oranon says, one thing I'd like to recommend is the show Leverage, which is a combat adverse series that a character role called Hitter. Writers let him show his skill in the fun ways, but don't overpower the heist vibes.
Right. And Leverage is great because it shows about pulling off heists ultimately for good, but it's still handy in terms of looking at the side of the heist pullers, so far as that, as well as the solvers.
Sean Vieira brings up the reason, brings up Clue, the movie.
Clue
Tim
is
Curry.
Movie.
Oh gosh, such
a good movie.
A good
it gets
movie.
quoted in my house every day.
Right.
So, honestly, and folks might have picked up on a couple of my Clue homages in our little artwork. But yeah, absolutely, such a great movie. How could you incorporate multiple endings into an experience for a campaign?
Well, I mean, that is the textbook way of following the players to whatever conclusion they come up with and taking credit for it.
Is there a way to incorporate even engaging or understanding that there are other endings, like some kind of timey-wimey fun?
One way
multiverse action,
One way I've handled precognition, for example, in gameplay, is the notion of basically sort of a save point. And saying, a precognitive character can basically say, scene goes like badly wrong, everything goes off the rails. And the precognitive character can say, well, I'm going to spend a hero point and say that this whole scene was actually just a precognitive vision that I had of a possible future. And we're going to go back to this point in the adventure. And my character is going to say, don't open that door. It's a booby trap. And we will pick up from there and start playing the adventure from there. And that everything that happened after that point was just a vision my character had of something that might have happened, but I've averted it.
Super fun. I mean, in a powerful way to use, hero points. That is, RC saying, I love those moments in TV. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. There was something else that I wanted to pick up on, and it was a comment basically talking about sort of a courtroom drama. I mean, it's sort of on the edges of mystery, right? You got to piece together the clues, you got to make the case, you got to do that kind of stuff. That would be a fun actual play, I think.
If the players are really into it, it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It can also be super tedious.
Sure.
If they're not.
Right, exactly. I object.
And they will let you know either way.
Yes, they will.
Yeah, that's great. Jay Gray says, Legends of Tomorrow, I'd argue, is 100% superhero murder mystery. It's just filled with time travel shenanigans and not knowing the plans of the enemy. Yeah.
I love Legends of Tomorrow so much. I'm so sad it's gone.
Yeah. Honestly, once Legends just committed and like completely threw themselves into the premise, there was just no stopping them.
RC says how I'm imagining Law and Order Freedom City, where the first half of the game they play they play heroes, and the second half they play lawyers.
Yep.
Or heroes that are lawyers.
I will say one thing about courtroom drama in my own experience is the game master should only play one character in the courtroom.
Yes.
If you force your players to sit through you playing the prosecutor, the defense attorney, and the judge all at once, they will mutiny, and rightly so.
3 hours later.
That's so much. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no. I mean, definitely cast some of your players in those parts, and if you want, play the judge and, cast them as the lawyers and the witnesses and things like that, if you want to do a courtroom drama, because otherwise it's just you doing a one person play. I mean, it's just no fun.
Right. Especially if one of the heroes is on trial. It'd be cool to have the one player playing their character and all of their friends around the table playing the people that are involved in that.
That has a lot of potential.
I think that as TTRPG, GMs, we also, this is a fun time to lean into a special guest. Bringing in somebody who is just there to answer the questions, or, to ask the questions, and you can't handle the truth kind of stuff. Let's see. This is great. If I had to play all the roles in a courtroom scene, I think I would go nuts, says Sean Vieira. Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Let's see.
This is not what I meant when I said I wanted to play Daredevil.
Right. Right. There was another comment. Oh, yeah. Cobalt says, a courtroom drama where the PCs have to race against the clock to find evidence legally. Yeah, super fun. Okay. Nate Robbins, I object. Something I want to explore for folks, because I know that we've got a lot of very astute and well-studied DMs here, and GMs in chat. But let's talk about what are the different what are the genres in a genre, like for mystery. Like, of course, the murder mystery, we've got that.
Yep.
The white people killing each other on an island. That's my favorite mystery genre.
Right.
Right. All right. What are some other?
Well, I mean, as far as mystery stories go, there's certainly thefts of all kinds.
Oh, sure.
Where something valuable or important has been stolen, and the characters have to find it and figure out who did it.
Missing persons, says Glyph. Yeah,
Missing
that's
persons
a good one.
Is another classic, especially a kidnap scenario. So far as that goes, there are all kinds of. Dominic points out locked room mysteries. There's that's a subgenre in its own right.
Locked rooms are cool. That is such a cool murder mystery.
Locked room mysteries become less fascinating in a world where people can teleport and walk through walls.
Fair enough.
Because there are a lot of ways you can easily do that. But there are also, I think, the sort of personal mysteries, which can be kind of interesting. The classic Who is Donna Troy story from Teen Titans is basically just a mystery of Nightwing finding out, Wonder Girl's origins, basically, because she doesn't know what they are. And that's a great sort of personal character story any character in your campaign, if they have some secret or mystery in their background, that can be an interesting mystery plot in and of itself.
Ooh, Glyph brings up, I played in a great game where all of our PCs had amnesia.
That can be a lot of fun.
Super fun. I like
it. Can be a lot of fun. It can be really annoying too, but it can be. It really you have to have players who are willing to buy in on that.
Yeah, you really do. You really do.
Sure.
I similarly wrote an adventure for Marvel superheroes back in the day, where the characters basically get the superheroes get accused of committing crimes, and there's all of this evidence of them doing it. And so they have to decide whether they're going to surrender to the authorities and almost certainly get convicted, or go, try and, prove their own innocence.
Yeah.
But the twist of the adventure is that the players discover that they're actually playing their own doppelgangers, and the real characters have been kidnapped and are trapped in the lair of the villain, who's created these duplicates who believe they're the real heroes, but are secretly committing crimes.
Sure.
So when they finally track it down, they discover you switch points of view to the real characters.
Fun. That is very fun. I also like, Oranon mentions the remote ski chalet sealed by adverse weather. So many ways to set up, all kinds of stuff.
If only we had an adventure coming out that had a remote ski chalet in it that you could use.
What could it be? Could it be?
There's even a map in that adventure of a ski chalet.
Right?
That, of course, is is called Mystery.
I just want to see if you can do it.
Menace on Mystery Mountain, is it called? Is that what it is?
Yes, that's what it's called.
Is it available now through the Green Ronin online store? And can you go to this link that I magically had ready to go? I had to search, but there you go. That is
all the fine places where you buy RPGs.
That's right. You can buy. Go ahead.
That does the adverse weather ski chalet does tie into how I would approach a locked room situation in a superhero setting, though, is to make the locked room somewhere really hard to get out of.
Right.
Like the Nerean Nexus or the Terminus or the Tower of Fate. Put it somewhere that it's not quite as easy to get around.
Right.
Or add a time element to it. So even if they can't get out of the room, other people can't, and there's something going on that they need to come back and resolve.
Oh, escape rooms are another great.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Okay, so help me out here. I guess I wasn't really thinking about this. What is the difference between a locked room and an escape room?
So a locked room mystery basically is how did this happen when it was in a space where no one could get in or out? This dead body was found, but this room was locked from the inside.
How did
did the killer get in? And more importantly, how did they get out? An escape room is more of a death trap scenario where the characters are in the room and they have to find the way out.
Got you.
Somebody usually starts off murdered in a locked room, and the escape room, they get murdered along the way.
I don't know why I laugh so maniacally, but that made me laugh. I appreciate that. Good stuff. I'm getting a link up and ready for folks to, you want to get your, you want to get your QR code snapping fingers, primarily because I love playing with this new feature, but also because it lets us kind of know what if you're clicking on it. So we appreciate that. So
another way to help heroes sort of adhere to mystery genre tropes is to add an external influence, somebody like Toon or Quirk, who is judging them based on how well they stick to the genre tropes, or assigning points based on them cooperating, essentially.
Ooh, that's fun. And yeah, I love that. That's great. That is a great way that they know that they've got to do it right is to do it right.
Right.
Like, we can just walk out of the room, but then Quirk will kill our families or whatever.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I don't think Quirk would do that. Quirk will turn our family into mailboxes or something. I don't know.
Right.
Are there any sort of other genre-based mystery sub-tropes?
I think identity theft is a fun mystery trope. Like a hero who's been replaced by an agent from a villain, or somebody's trying to renovate somebody's image and they're doing it by stealing their identity. Or just cyber identity theft, things like that are easy to tap into.
Right. I think that for superhero mystery adventures, that Raymond Chandler's maxim of if you don't know what else to do, have a man with a gun come through the door, or something along those lines, is a pretty good rule of thumb. Both because it's an action scene that gives the characters something to do, and it can potentially advance the plot once they find out who this guy is and why he's there. So to use Menace on Mystery Mountain as an example, the characters start out with the initial investigation and they have time to kind of poke around and look for clues. And then there's an avalanche. So that the superheroes all get to jump into action and do superhero-y things and rescue people and the like. And it ratchets up the sense that there's an additional immediate threat. It's not just whatever's been going on to this point. There's obviously an ongoing danger.
And you will find that QR code at the bottom of the screen. Shop now.
So, I'm a huge fan of somebody kicks in the door and starts shooting. That is the number one tool to get rid of analysis paralysis.
Yep.
Gotcha. Let's see. Here's a couple. This is RC brings up this show, and I think it is. I think it's one of my faves. Another show I've been watching that's inspired me that has a heavy mystery theme is Burn Notice.
Oh yeah.
Such a great sort of in the classic.
Much more espionage sort of conspiracy type mystery, but definitely.
Absolutely, yeah.
And again, my favorite GM advice: don't be afraid to steal stories from other media and adapt it for your needs.
Right.
Even if your players have seen that story, they will still they'll think that you're smart enough to come up with a similar story, or they'll buy into it.
Or they'll just enjoy an opportunity to engage and play in a story that they're very comfortable and familiar and fond of.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Nate brings up Stolen Powers. Scrolls. Yeah, Scrolls. That's a great
Speaking
one.
of things that get stolen, yeah.
Love that. Spy mysteries. Yeah, we did talk a little bit about, spy thrillers. Yeah, I think that is the world of, just espionage in general, which you could do it on the kind of global socio-political sort of that piece of it, or you can do corporate espionage or, all kinds of stuff. That's really fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Burn Notice style actual play is on my list of stream ideas. Ooh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that'd be a cool game.
Yeah, Dominic mentions a ghost whose story arc is solving their own murder, and I love that trope too.
Yeah, that is a great one, and it has been used very effectively in the comics. That was
fun.
Dead Man's raison d'etre for quite a while.
Ooh, I like Jay Gray brings up Prison Break.
Dead Man shows up in a movie soon.
Right.
Prison Break is also great. Like, somebody is innocent and it's, time for us to get in and get into prison and save them and save the day, etc.
Yeah, I ran a similar scenario to what Steve was talking about earlier with the Guardians of the Galaxy, where they wake up in jail after a night out accused of murdering an accuser, and they've got to prove that they didn't do it. By retracing their steps. I call it the Hangover adventure.
Right.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that is great.
Yep. And there, you could definitely do a lot of mystery stories with so your characters wake up with no memory of what happened and have to figure out basically what happened.
Jonesy mentions, would you count changes to a hero's power under the mystery genre? Why not?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think that falls into the stolen power category or the swap power category. Into what effect?
Right. And one sort of side benefit of the stolen power scenario is it allows you to just go right around problematic powers because the characters don't have them.
Sean Vieira brings up, for a detective with a deceased partner, see the classic Randall and Hopkirk. Yeah. Deceased. Yeah. They wake up in jail. Sure. says Nate. David Bodie brings up the show John Doe was all about the amnesia victim who has to find out who they are, etc. I love that. So are mysteries better done as a one shot? Is that, I mean, or is it, how long can you stretch out a mystery?
Depends on the style of your campaign.
Sure.
If you're running a primarily like crime solvers campaign, you're probably going to run a lot of mysteries where the characters are going to be investigating and solving crimes a lot. If you're running a more sort of 4-color superhero-y game, mysteries are probably going to be relatively, sort of in between other kinds of adventures.
David Bolak says, dude, where's my car? Yeah.
The classic amnesia mystery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's the thing. Superheroes as a genre are particularly well suited to mysteries because they're a reactive type of protagonist. Right. Like superheroes don't set out to change things; they're there to maintain sort of where we're at, and you necessarily have to have something for them to react to, and whether that's a mystery or a criminal's activity, stuff like that. That is how you get them hooked into a story and get them moving. Right. Generally speaking.
Yeah, that's true.
Gotcha. How often do you pivot or do you create campy mystery, sort of more along the lines of Scooby-Doo and Dude, Where's My Car, and sort of?
That depends both on what kind of campaign I am running and how much preparation I've done. Because when I improv, usually my improv is silly or horrible.
You mean horrible as in horror, or horrible?
Yeah, just like the worst thing possible would happen. But I mean, comedy is a fail state of horror.
To be sure. Yeah, to be fair, sometimes, and sometimes the only difference between horror and comedy is your the distance in time away from whatever horrible thing you're talking about.
That's true.
Dude,
but horror is a fail state for some comedy, to be fair.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think that is an interesting discussion just in general. I think that it really is a matter of knowing your table and knowing who's playing, and then also there's the added element of that fourth wall of people who are watching you kind of unravel the mystery of whatever it is, and a question of both what your players can pull off theatrically and what your audience is looking forward to watching.
Yeah,
tough.
That's one area where streaming becomes kind of a unique subgenre, because streaming is a form of RPGs that actually has an audience.
Yeah.
Whereas in most tabletop RPGs, the players are both the cast, characters, and audience all at the same time. And you can play around some interesting sort of metagaming around that, but it is different when you have a group of characters who are playing to an audience.
Right. And I think, by and large, it has been interesting to see some people try to do straight up horror or straight up, horror mysteries or campy stuff. I think I tend to see more of the fun and, lighter tone stuff, as Jonesy mentions, than I do sort of real deep gothic horror kind of stuff.
Yeah. He's mentioning lighter tone, ironically, because I promised a lighter tone in our last game and didn't follow through.
Less deaths, more laughs at your deaths. Let's see.
Fine.
Troy, Cobalt GM mentions a really interesting subgenre, and that's medical mysteries.
Let's talk about that.
Which is the sort of diagnosis mystery, oftentimes, of what condition is this person suffering from, or what is the cause? Right, like House. What is the cause of this medical outbreak? Those kind of the Quincy sort of investigation of what does the autopsy tell us about the cause of this crime, those kinds of things. That's going to be a rarity for a superhero game, but if you have characters, especially if you have a character who is a medical doctor, That can be fun for a one-shot adventure where they have to deal with a mysterious medical condition of some kind and figure out what's causing it.
Yeah, interestingly enough, it made me think a bit when you talk about medical mystery. One that could be a lot of fun is the, Chat mentioned earlier going inside the mind of somebody, but going inside the body of somebody, being shrunken down and fighting the, the body's, what do they call that? When you get attacked by the
fighting off the immune system.
Exactly, and that's also just whatever it is that inner space. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, white blood cells are surprisingly horrible.
They really are,
especially when they're 10 times bigger than you.
Right, and on a mission baked into their chromosomes. Yeah. Let's see. Chrome Wiki says, I like making my players' backstory elements and NPCs mysteries they have to discover. Yeah. I love that. I do love that. And let's see. The Fantastic Voyage, Dominic mentions, aka the Fantastic Voyage episode.
Or the Magic School Bus episode.
Yes, right? Yeah, absolutely. I've got a special place in my heart for the Magic School Bus.
Sean Dugan, to answer your question, the other books coming out this year we're not allowed to talk about, but there are 2 more scheduled after Vigilante's Handbook.
So listen, I was about to go back and chat. We've got so many great things going on, but I looked at the time. We are running out of time, and I've got a couple important things that I want to make sure that we mention, not the least of which is we have 3 new stretch goals for 3 days left of the 5th season.
Yes.
RPG on Backer Kit. Hang on one moment while I pop that up. There.
Crowdfunder ends on Thursday.
That's right. It does. And holy smokes, this has gone so great. If you've had an opportunity to back, thank you. Make sure that you go back and check what stretch goals have unlocked so you can make sure you get those as well. And let's scroll down and just take a look. All right. So we are creeping up on People of the Stillness. That's a PDF with 50 NPCs. Fantastic. I'm excited about this digital map pack because I am a map nerd. Something that was stoked and built in me from our friend Crystal Frazier just got me just addicted to tips and the whole thing.
I think that stretch goal will really enhance our VTT offerings for
yes
5th season as well.
Yes, absolutely. And then we have 5th season encounters at 185, and that a PDF with 6 detailed encounters that can be used as is or customized for your campaign. And then at 200K, we've got the 5th season character folio, which is the form fillable PDF, includes detailed character record sheet, an adventure log, an NPC roster, another handy section to help you keep track of your character and the campaign. So, get to back in if you haven't. If you have, get back to the campaign and grab yourself any of these add-ons and some of the good stuff that we've got cooking over here. Lots of great stuff and 3 days left. So you want to be sure that you're dialed in to that whole thing, which I've just been so stoked about the whole campaign. It's been just a joy and a lot of fun, and it is on Backer Kit. If I ever said the other one, Kickstarter, a part of moi. It is. It really is. We all do it, and it's just so rough. But when you got it baked into your mind, that's a Backer Kit, of course, and the link is in chat as well. So. Okay, so we've got that. Gentlemen, what do you have cooking this week, or what's going on in your world? Steve, let's start with you.
My friend Micah Brandt and I are doing a folio, hopefully a series if it does well, called Fantasy Men that Micah just launched on Crowdfunder, which is crowd with an R on the end. The link's in the chat. and it is Micah on art and me on words, doing interesting, just sort of romanceable fantasy male characters for your, at least initially for your fantasy RPG campaigns. We're going to see if people are interested. We might branch out to some other types of settings and the like. But it's been a lot of fun to play around with. So definitely take a look, back it if you can. It's a small product and very, very low cost and low risk for anybody who's interested. And AJ, the link is in the chat, but it's Crowdfunder. It's crowdfund with just an R, no E, .com/fantasy-men. Take a look at it. I'm a big fan of Micah's art and have been ever since he did the Freedom City Pride Parade illustration for Danger Zones. So it's going to be a fun project.
Check that out. Phenomenal. Okay. And then Alex, what have you got cooking?
Well, I'm coming back to stream on Wednesday.
Yay!
For my month off, we will be beginning Freedomly Dark in the Multiverse of the Master Mage on Wednesday.
Okay, so now are you moving from Tuesdays to Wednesdays?
Mondays to Wednesdays.
Or Monday. I'm so sorry. Monday. I don't know why I thought today was Tuesday. Because, we don't ever do a Mutants Masterminds Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah. Right.
We'll be moving to Wednesdays going forward. We had some scheduling changes in the cast, so.
Okay.
And then Saturday we have our actual play. Love is in the Arrow.
We're doing it, friends.
Actually,
we're
doing real.
Yep, we're doing it for real. And our apologies. You bump a day and things get a little. It just get a little chaotic. But
so we need a brigade for our Bowman Brigade.
We need a full brigade. Alex wants 20 players.
Give them to me. Give them all.
RC, the people, Troy, they cry out for Mumatu. That would be fun. But we'd have to do it in place of a Mumamu. So RC is going to be there. Fantastic. Other folks, if you can join us as well, you're going to want to head on over to the Patreon, which is patreon.com/mutants A&D masterminds. And now listen to this. Making a very special offer, but only for people who are live in chat. If you are looking to, and you maybe not be a part of the Patreon, this will be your one opportunity to engage with a Patreon live stream. You send me a request, and we'll see about adding you to the cast. So
where are they going to send that request, Troy?
You want to send that to Let's Play at greenronin.com. LETS play at greenronin.com. And and we'll work on the timing and all that. I think, Alex, we want to do it around 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. We just like that 2 p.m. hour.
It's a good time.
It's a good time.
Also, Claude wants to know about Event Horizon, but I'm not ready to talk about it yet.
Yep, so you can't know, Claude. Nice try, though.
But it's coming. It is something we're working on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stan.
Baggins, keep your secrets GIF here.
That's right. Exactly. And so join us for that, either as a watcher or as a player, for this upcoming Saturday. And get thee to the Patreon. We've got good stuff coming. We've got all kinds of characters on the way. I believe that we should be good. We're like almost done with some of the layout, right? Are we ready to rumble?
I'll be sharing the layout with Troy very soon.
Nice. All right, friends. Well, look at that. We are 1 minute over, and that's just because we love you. We give you one free minute. The rest you have to pay for. Hey, gentlemen, thank you again for hanging out. The Mumamo is a highlight of my week, and I definitely enjoy hanging out. And what a great conversation it was today, talking about mysteries in your Mutants and Masterminds campaigns.
Pleasure as always.
Yeah,
all right,
friends. We could talk about that for another hour.
I literally, honestly, we really could. We were fired up. That's for sure. All right, friends. The rest of you have a great rest of your week. We will see you this Thursday for Thursdage. That's at 2 p.m. right here in the same place. We just move the set around a little bit, and we have a different guest and put on different skin suits and talk about all things adventure game engine related. Until then, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.